G'day, Shane here. What I want to talk to you today and share a couple of poems about is the idea of love being a better approach to life and decisions than responding to life through fear. At the moment, we're facing a referendum in Australia for giving a voice to Indigenous people. What we're voting on is whether we will grant a voice to the first inhabitants of Australia, who were basically pushed to the fringes with European settlement 250 years ago. There was genocide and murder, rape, and just taking their lands without their permission, forcing them off, doing shonky deals, all that sort of stuff that happens. And I know that also happens in or has happened also in other countries around the world. So so what they're asking for is to be heard, to have their concerns heard. They're only 3.8% of the population, which is pretty sad to hear that already. But they, because they've been pushed to the fringes, they've been disempowered and I guess turn to substance abuse and violence and all that sort of stuff, because they're really a segment of the population that are in no man's land, basically, and so they feel disempowered and little hope for their futures. And so what's happened is that a number of the leaders of the various nations of Aboriginal Australia have come together, and they've put together a statement of the heart in the heart of Australia. They did it at Uluru, Ayers Rock, and they presented this statement of the heart to Parliament, expressing their desire to work through love, to work towards improving the lives of Indigenous Australians and closing the gap, because there is quite a gap through the division that's been created by obviously pushing them aside. What I want to talk about is how we can bring this change about, grant them the voice, and through love actually hear what they have to say and address their issues straight from them. Because in the past, when it's been political parties trying to sort out the problems of Indigenous people, policies are made, but then the government changes, and then those policies get watered down or just removed, and so nothing has ever really happened, that nothing has progressed, and their situation hasn't improved at all. We've done many things supposedly for them, which ends up being to them, that they haven't owned, because they just feel like they're being told what to do and they're not actually being asked. So this is why they're asking for a voice to Parliament, and I support that voice. So what I've done, I've written a couple of poems that I'll share with you. The first one is called 65,000 Years, because understand that these people have actually, they're the oldest continual civilization existing in the world. They've been in Australia for 65,000 years, as far as we know. It could even be longer. There's new evidence coming out all the time as to the length of time that Indigenous Australians have dwelled in this land, and as caretakers, and watching over the land and learning from the land, and having such a deep spiritual connection to the land. So this first poem's called 65,000 Years. It's been 65,000 years, the longest continuity of all civilizations, to be born and dwell and die in a land long before the birth of all modern nations, whose blood and flesh and skin and bone are one with the red dirt and brown, who beneath a billion glimmering stars sleep still in this most sacred ground. Yet the voices of the ancestors are heard still on the breeze, and dance in the glow of the fires. Like the didgeridoo, their vibrations run through, like the desert wind's song on the wires. But only those who know hear their voices, only those with connection to spirit, whose DNA remembers what pumps in their veins and gives them the ability to hear it. For the rest of us, we can only imagine the strength of their ancestral bond and the emotion that country stirs in their souls through the ache and the need to belong. 65,000 years of belonging is hard to just sweep away or integrate into a whole other culture, denied of a voice and a say. To be ignored as a civilization, terra nullius declared on their land, forced to yield to an aggressive oppressor in a world they could not understand. No rights of self-determination as humans not recognised, genocide, rape and violent abuse, their own children torn from their sides. So much loss and cruelty and trauma are now added to their DNA, and many now turn to substance abuse as they feel they've no power or say. But despite it, the elders stand strong. They remember the warriors of old. They remember the spirit of 65,000 years through the songs and the stories being told. They stand firm to return recognition in an effort to heal the past, and they ask for a voice so that they can be heard and not feel that they always come last. Together, they presented the statement of the heart with the motive of healing and love. All they ask is to be heard as a united voice so the past can be risen above. Surely if this modern young nation is truly to sing "We Are One," we must allow the First Nations a voice, to be heard and a place in the sun. After 65,000 years of corroboree fires, of songlines and ancestral care, surely this new country can reach out its hand and show that we can actually share. Surely we can welcome their input and the wisdom of thousands of years. Surely we can listen with openness and love, and not as victims of suspicion and fears. Surely we are grown up enough to handle any challenges that might come along, and with love and compassion open our hearts and allow 65,000 years to belong. Okay, so that's basically my feelings on the referendum and what we should be doing to address the issues of Indigenous Australians, of First Australians. And to me, that is an expression of love, to actually allow them the space, the seat at the table, to be heard and to express their needs and desires, so that we can move forward without watering down policies and sweeping them back under the carpet. We can move forward and close that gap and actually give them a fair go in Australia. I mean, you know, Australia always pushes the fact that we give everyone a fair go, but we haven't. We haven't given Indigenous Australians a fair go. We've pushed them to the fringes and said, get out of the way, we're going to do things our way and you don't count. And it's time that they do count. So therefore, I think a voice is important. To me, this is an act of love. And love is what we're supposed to be about. I mean, we are all one. We are all expressions of God. God is our source. God flows through us. It is that energy that flows through all things, as I've said before. And we need to learn how to actually allow that to flow Instead of responding through fear, as the No campaign would have us do, and fill our heads with misinformation just to engender more fear, cause us to pull back into our shells and decide we'll vote no because change is scary. We need to actually look through the eyes of love, look through the eyes of God, and say, is the way that we're voting actually going to improve things for all people, or is it just going to push people aside again? All right, the last poem I want to share with you is Where is the Love? And this expresses that very thing. Where is the love? Are you living your life through love, or living a life of fear? Does the way you approach your world bring God's voice down here? Do you see the world through suspicion, mistrust in every new thing? Or do you look deeper for its true motivation and see if there's light within? Are you more worried about what might be lost than you are on what might be gained? Is your heart full of love to overflowing, or has the cold hand of fear gripped your brain? We are taught God is love, and that we should be the conduit of love to all humanity. But are we too busy hiding away through fear and suspicion to let love have its say? Look at a particular issue and think how it makes you feel. Does it engender that feeling of love, or is it the fear that is real? The feeling of God is love. That's the way it should be. So look at the world through the eyes of love, and that love will set us all free. Okay, I'll leave you with that. Thanks. Bye.